Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the show, and coming up on today's Raiders Report episode, I got some updated Raiders free agent targets. We're going to be looking at the top 3 players available at each position for the Silver and Black, and these guys are ranked based on overall talent, how I think they would potentially fit with the Luke Getsy offense, maybe even potentially in a Patrick Graham defense, AP from top to bottom, the entire team, the projected cost, the fit with the Silver and Black. Now, the reason why I'm making this show is because I was at a bachelor party last week, and I told Chugs, if any breaking news happens, if the Raiders end up signing any players, like you have the ability, like just go live and let's talk about it. The Raiders did absolutely, positively nothing. So I know a lot of us are kind of sitting around waiting for them to make a move. On top of that, though, one of the players that we have mentioned time and time again on this show retired. Steven Nelson, who I still think was one of the better free agents available out there. He was like 31 years old, coming off a solid season with the Houston Texans. He retired, which now makes that cornerback pool, the overall free agency pool for this team, Telesco Antonio Pierce, makes it a little bit thinner. So what I wanted to do here is give you an updated look at some of the top players available at each position, which guys I'm going to concentrate a little bit more on, because with Steven Nelson retiring, this makes me wonder what this organization is going to do. You currently have $34.1 million in salary cap space. That's 5th most in the National Football League. You do have 91 guys on your roster. You're allowed to have 190, or you're allowed to have 91 guys on your roster. And the Raiders are expected to sign at least one guy before training camp. Hell, I look at this team from top to bottom, and I'm thinking 3 moves. And that's literally what I think. I think 3 moves you got to make for this team. I'm hoping it's a corner, edge, and then hopefully nobody goes down with an injury, but maybe an offensive lineman or something along those lines. I'll get into some of these players that I want the Raiders to target, but we're in a battle here at Chat Sports. And I got the Raiders report going up against the 49ers report in a June sub battle. We got the lead right now. But I don't want this June sub-battle to turn into a Josh McDaniels football game where we got a good little lead, we're almost at halftime, and then the third quarter we don't show up and we blow it. Yeah, I can't handle that up against the 49ers report. So if you're a Raiders fan and you bleed silver and black, hit that subscribe button. If you are already subbed, tell your friends to, because I'm not losing.
Also, Chase Sr.'s been talking a lot of mess about the new Madden cover.
It's true. Can confirm. All right, let's go to these Raiders free agent targets. I figured I usually start on offense, so we're going to go to the defensive side of the football to get this one going. We're first going to look at the defensive ends. The number 1 DE that the team should look at and go out and sign, to me, is Emmanuel Ogbah. I'll be quite honest. I think Yannick Ngakoue, who Max Crosby actually mentioned him by name on Tuesday as a player that he thought outworked Max when he was a little bit younger. Jerry Hughes is another name to throw out there. I'll be real. If the Raiders sign any of these guys, I am going to be happy, because I do think they give you that extra flexibility to have somebody behind Malcolm Koonce, to have somebody, just help out Max Crosby, Tyree Wilson a little bit on the edge. So one of these 3 players, Emmanuel Ogbah, though, clearly number 1 to me. Let's go to defensive tackle. And speaking of clearly number 1, there's really only one player on this list that I think that the Raiders would legitimately try to sign, and it's not going to be Linval Joseph. It's not going to be Mike Purcell. His name is Calais Campbell. I know he's 38 years old. He's still playing at an extremely high level at age 38. And when you look at John Jenkins, Adam Butler, I really think the only spot that you're going to find somebody that's going to give you legitimate reps is Calais. So he makes the list here. Let's now go to the linebacker position, because this one, I was going to say finagle. I don't even know if I've ever even used that word on this show. I had to mess around with it a little bit, because Zach Cunningham is the only linebacker that's a free agent that I do think would be able to help out our linebacker room. For Markus Golden and Tyus Bowser, some people might consider them linebackers. Other people might consider them edges. For this team, I would say that they could play a little bit of a hybrid role, but Golden's got connections with Patrick Graham. Tyus Bowser's got some connections with Rob Ryan. So due to those connections, I could see them potentially helping out at the linebacker spot. Corner, and this is why I wanted to make this show, because of what has happened while I was away at my bachelor party, or not my bachelor, my buddy's bachelor party, and I wanted to talk about this topic because not only did Steven Nelson retire, which the Raiders, and I think a lot of Raider fans watching the show are like, yeah, I want the Raiders to sign a corner. If you agree with that, like the video, because Steven Nelson retired. I'm like, all right. And then some news popped up, at least a rumor going on around Xavien Howard, that said, allegedly, He texted the boy sexual photos of his mother per court filings. Former Dolphins cornerback Xavien Howard sent a boy sexually explicit content of his mother because she refused to get an abortion, a new court filing alleges. Howard is a free agent. Some people might read that and say, Mitch, I just want you to talk about football, but I do think one of the things that Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco, and maybe I'm crazy for saying this, I want good people on this Raiders football team. Like, what the Raiders have been juggling in the past few off seasons, off the field crap, I don't want to deal with any off the field bullshit. Point blank, period. And I have been someone on this show yelling from the rooftops, go get Xavien Howard, go bring him in here. Like, let's be real, this is weird behavior. Like, there is never a situation where this is okay. This is not somebody that I want on my football team. With that being said, if I am Tom Telesco, if I am Antonio Pierce, my job is to put the best team on the field. My job here as a Raiders Report host is to tell you that there was a time where I said Xavien Howard is the #1 free agent target that the Raiders should pursue. Here's my idea. It's not the same anymore. Now it's Stephon Gilmore. To me, Gilmore is the #1 guy because that's the tiebreaker to me. I don't got to deal with bullshit with Stephon Gilmore. That's the tiebreaker, #1. So get down in the comments. And I had multiple people, and I mean multiple people are like, Mitch, Raiders can't sign Xavien Howard anymore. Give me a yes. Give me a no. What are you thinking? Should the Raiders still bring Howard to the silver and black? I'm going to say this. Do I want the Raiders to still bring Xavien Howard? Yes, if they can't get Stephon Gilmore. It is it's a seesaw of a battle that I'm going to play with this debate here a little bit. But I do want the Raiders to win. I want them to be able to go out there and just win, baby. I'll also say there are currently people in the NFL that have done much worse than what we just heard there, which maybe isn't the best reason for him to put my argument of why they should bring him in. But my argument now of Xavien Howard being the #1 corner, the #1 player that the Raiders should pick up in free agency, that tie now goes to Stephon Gilmore. That's who I want the Raiders to go out and get. If you told me, though, it's either Xavien Howard or we don't add any talent at all to our cornerback room, I'm an honest man. I will tell you, I will still want Xavien Howard. Let's go now to the safety position here for the silver and black. And the Raiders safety room is one of the more solid units that I don't think people truly understand how deep this team actually is. Merrick and Epps is one of the better safety duos in the league. And then with Isaiah Palameo, solid player there. Trey Taylor, found out he doesn't wear socks on an Instagram live video, which I had some fun. He doesn't wear socks. I know. Dude, it's kind of wild. No socks. On top of that, then, safety, what else? The player that I want the Raiders, I thought of socks. David Zahn probably is loving it, but the only safety that I think legitimately the Raiders will go out and add is Justin Simmons. And I will admit, if the Raiders signed a safety, I do think it would be strange because both Epps and Merrick are younger than everybody on this list besides Simmons, at least Merrick is. I would rather them give those two guys a contract extension, keep that safety group together, a unit that's 29 and 25 years old, and Merrick and Epps. And then after that, you got some of these younger players to develop on top of that. Though, if you add Justin Simmons to your team, he's honestly the best free agent available, and I think it'd be kind of stupid to say no to that. So coming up next here, we're going to get into the Raiders free agent targets on the offensive side of the football, which we're going to bring up the quarterbacks. I think you guys are going to like my answer, though, what I have to say about some of the QBs. There is a certain group, though, that I do think is a little bit more important than what people might recognize, and that's the offensive line group. We'll talk about them in a second. Before I want to break down who the top free agent targets are for Telesco and AP in the silver and black, if you don't know our Madden schedule, since I've been away for a little bit, Raiders are 4-1. I know, insane, 4-game winning streak. Week 6 up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's going to be on Thursday, June 13th. Then Week 7 at the Rams. That's going to be June 14th. So put that into your calendar. If you enjoy what we do on game days, I think you're also going to have a lot of fun with us when we go live for Madden. Some people say, Mitch, you do realize that it's just a Madden game. It is just a Madden game. But you know what? I also like to look at this as my practice reps, and we have fun doing it. It is June after all, and that's part of being a content creator, is it not? All right, let's go to the quarterback room here for the Raiders free agent targets. And here's the thing. I wanted to just do this part of the show to illustrate to people that, and I'm even somebody that sits up here and says, the Raiders don't have a good quarterback room. We don't have the worst one in the NFL, but I do think that you're bottom 5 with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. And even with that being said, I these are your three best quarterbacks in the free agent market. If somebody wants to argue about this, go for it. I mean, Ryan Tannehill is clearly the best. Then it's Trevor Siemian, A.J. McCarron. Cool. The Raiders should not sign a single free agent QB. Like, even if you're not 100% sold, even if you're not 50% sold on AOC and Gardner, what are you going to do? Pay Ryan Tannehill $15 million per year to just have another quarterback battle? The old saying is if you have two QBs, you don't have any. But what's the saying if you have three quarterbacks? I can't even get down a rabbit hole of that. So no quarterbacks. Raiders don't need any. I think we're pretty good in that regard. Let's go now to the running back position here for the Silver and Black. And I like Zamir White. Dylan Laube continues to impress at OTAs. But I do think if you're going to do this, you're not going to spend a lot of money. Like, there's not a situation where I am going to put Dalvin Cook on this list, who probably is the best back name value-wise. But, like, he's also going to be the dude that costs the most money, which is why he's number 3. The best all-around running back, I'd say maybe is Cam Akers. But to me, the one that they might be the most interested in signing is Joshua Kelly, who's got some ties to Telesco, who was a part of the Chargers last offseason. Let's go to the wide receiver room now, which is probably one of our deepest spots as well, depending how often you're going to put Brock Bowers in at slot. I anticipate that he plays more at slot than he does at true tight end. From a receiver standpoint, though, this is also a very difficult list that I tried to throw together, but we did it. Number 1 name, I'm going to put Jamal Agnew, and that is 100% solely for special teams value and special teams alone. Like, if the Raiders are a little bit unconfident about their kick returning, punt return game, Agnew's the guy that I'd call. Randall Cobb, just because of his past experiences with Luke Getsy, I actually thought that maybe Cobb could be somebody that they add instead of a dude like, I don't know, Michael Gallup. If Gallup proves to be unhealthy, keep an eye out for Cobb. And then Russell Gage has actually put up some halfway decent numbers over the past 3 seasons. So if you need an extra receiver, he'd be somebody. Out of all 3 of these names, though, Gage, I would imagine, would be the most expensive. Let's go to tight end room now. The tight end room is solid. Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Harrison Bryant. I'm not afraid to say that I do think the Raiders have a top 3 tight end room in the National Football League. To me, though, the 3 names that you're going to see are not going to be all inspiring. Jeff Swain has some connections with Luke Steichel, the Raiders tight ends coach, who was also tight end / offensive line coach for Tennessee when Swain was there, so that's why he's number 1 here. Blake Bell's only number 2 because he was a former Chief, and quite frankly, I would sign a former Chief for a month just to get maybe an extra competitive advantage over it. And then Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham also has been a part of Luke Getsy offenses from times when he was with the Green Bay Packers and then also with the Chicago Bears. Let's now go to the important spot, though. It's the offensive line. And I do think that this is a position group that needs a little bit more attention just because of some injury scares that have happened. Like Colton Miller still battling a little bit of a shoulder injury, which is why you're going to see Charles Leno and you're also going to see David Bakhtiari on this list. I have Connor Williams at number 1. He's got some injury concerns, but like he is still, if he was 100% healthy, he'd be clearly the best offensive lineman on this group. Luckily, Jackson Powers Johnson practiced on Tuesday for the Silver and Black, and I'm not as scared as this interior offensive line. But for Charles Leno, left tackle, David Bakhtiari, he's got some ties with Luke Getsy. If for whatever reason Colton Miller isn't 100% healthy, and then you also have Andres Pete, who's dealt with a lot of injuries throughout his history, just some offensive linemen to go out there and keep in mind. Like, I know that the way I usually do free agent target videos are I go top 10, and I break down a little bit more in depth of why each guy is why. I wanted to do something a little bit different today, so I'm going to be honest with y'all. If you made it this far in the video, let me know if you like this style of me going through top 3 players at each position, or you're like, Mitch, just give me that top 10 list. This is a show predicated on the back of the nation. So if the Raiders can sign one NFL free agent, I threw out, 30 names at you. Who should it be and why? What I wanted to end up doing is, even though I threw out all those names, I still wanted to be able to give you my top 5 list of all those names of who I would want to go out and get. Stephon Gilmore is number 1. Xavien Howard is still number 2 to me, and I know he's got that shit going on right now. Justin Simmons, Emmanuel Ogbah, Adoree Jackson. If you agree with me, hey, take a screenshot of this list, send it out there. You got $34.1 million. My objective of this show, my objective as a Raider fan is, yes, to have a good time with y'all, but also give my opinion, which hopefully would lead to a few extra wins. Telesco AP, you got the money. Let's sign 1 2. Shit, I'd be happy for 3 of those names right there. For more updates around the Raiders, more videos, more content, I'm at Mitchell Renz 365 on social media. I post pictures of Chuck if you want to see some pictures of my dog. If you want to see a hilarious picture of Jeremy at the Christmas party, give him a follow at Jeremy Chugs. Very good. We also have a Chat Sports Company outing on Thursday. Might be some pictures from that. Bottom line, I want people not only watch us on YouTube, but I do appreciate when people follow us on social media because it helps me get to know y'all. It also helps you get to know us a little bit better, which makes this show more fun.